At the beginning of the Edwardian era, the boys of Britain were in danger. Unhealthy, unmotivated, and under bad influences. They were in trouble and needed help. Many feared that if they didn't get it, the nation's morality would be fatally undermined, and the empire would rapidly decline and fall. Salvation came in the unlikely shape of a book. It was written by a war hero, but was a manual for peace. It aimed to mould men, but celebrated being a boy. It influenced the lives of millions and introduced a code of common values around the globe. Its name was Scouting for Boys. The Scouts are a British institution, so much part of the national consciousness that we imagine they've been going forever. But actually, Scouting didn't win over the nation's affections gradually. It was an overnight sensation. It all began in 1908 with a best-selling handbook. In the 20th century, only the Bible, the Quran and the thoughts of Chairman Mao sold more copies than Scouting for Boys.
How to make buttons out of bootlaces. How to fly Britain's flag. The boy who apes the man by smoking will never be much good.
The book is definitely not the expression of a systematic ideology. Instead, it's a ragbag of disparate ideas, held together only by the personality and experiences of one man, Scouting's maverick founder and Boer War hero, Robert Baden-Powell. He's pro-British Empire, but anti-men with waxed moustaches. And he's completely obsessed by boots.
It is surprising how much meaning you can read from the boot. To wear your heels down on the outside means that you're a man of imagination and lover of adventure. But heels worn down on the inside signify weakness and indecision of character.
He may have had some peculiar ideas, but Baden-Powell was also very charismatic.
Hello, you boy in the corner there. You ought to be a Boy Scout. You're a fine-looking fella, and I know you'd make a jolly good backwoodsman by the look of you. You're ugly enough anyway.
Actually, I was never in the Boy Scouts. I think at that age I was probably too busy making jokes about Baden-Powell's Scouting for Boys. Is he? Naughty old Baden-Powell. Not realising that that wasn't a very new joke, and that it's always been easy to laugh at Baden-Powell and at the Scouts, and it's become something of a national tradition to do exactly that. But I found rereading Scouting for Boys, it is an extraordinary book. It's very radical, and it addresses all sorts of issues that we think of as modern. Citizenship, what to do with disaffected youth, social responsibility. But it's very eccentric, very Edwardian, and very English. And that's what appealed then, and that's what appeals to me now. To try and get the measure of the man behind the movement, I'm off to see the current Lord Baden-Powell.
Hello. Nice to see you. Do come in.
Here he comes.
Very old-fashioned, isn't it?
What's he doing?
He's doing his daily exercises. I mean, there's no question he was quite a nutcase, really, in some way. And throughout his life, he'd always got this thing that he had to keep himself up to scratch, as he called it. And he was quite preoccupied about personal health all the time.
And you knew him?
Well, Yes, I mean, I was a very little boy. Is
that you?
That's me at the age of 4. When my mother was having her second child, I was shoveled up to Kenya, and I spent 3 months with them. And all I remember is, like a lot of children, I was just like a rattling cage. I was always asking questions. It was, shut up, shut up. Oh, go and do something. Oh, go and play. But for the first time in my life, somebody said, oh, yes, I'll explain that to you.
Yeah.
And I do remember this incredible interest in little boys. I mean that in the nicest way.
Yes, well, it's almost impossible to say it now.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. He could mentally bring himself down to their level and explain things to them in words of one syllable. As simple as that, really.
The first step towards success in training your boy is to know something about boys in general. It is well to recall, so far as possible, what your ideas were when a boy yourself.
Robert Baden-Powell was born in 1857, the son of a professor of geometry at Oxford University, and the 8th in a family of 10 children.
The kind of person who was going to invent the Boy Scouts, which is a very odd institution, I think, is the sort of boy who would have been thrown on his own resources, in a way, at an early age. Baden-Powell, when he was only 3, lost his father. And he became obsessed with the idea of what was it that fathers say to boys that makes them manly later on.
His widowed mother was, however, pushy enough to get him the best available training as a man. He was accepted on a scholarship to one of England's leading public schools, Charterhouse. Life here offered Baden-Powell a wealth of new experiences. Most of them, however, well away from the classroom.
Outside the school walls was the copse. It was here I used to imagine myself a backwoodsman, trapper and scout. I used to creep about warily, looking for signs and getting close-up observation of rabbits, squirrels, rats and birds.
At Charterhouse, Baden-Powell also witnessed a well-established scheme for turning feckless boys into responsible men.
Baden-Powell was influenced by the prefect system here. But it's not called prefects, is it?
It's a monitorial system.
A monitorial system, right.
Yeah.
So tell me,